to have that sort of the repartee to sell a plane, and it's very interesting to say the least. We get this eclectic collection of items nearly every month now from the various government agencies we work for, and one of the stars of the shows on Thursday night's auction is indeed a plane that was smuggling drugs into the country, and it's now with ourselves for auction.
Yeah, I get, and I'm sure you get it as well, immense satisfaction to know that someone who was using something for such ill-gotten reasons, if there is such a term, such illegal reasons, and they are availing of ill-gotten gain with that aeroplane, that they're getting their comeuppance by it being sold to the highest bidder. There's a feel good in that straight away. But is there an interest in a 6-seater single engine plane?
Remarkably, yes. With the internet and online bidding, the world is a much smaller place nowadays. And to be quite honest, the minute that we listed this plane for sale, you attract worldwide interest. This particular, I'll not bore you with the technicalities, but this particular type of Cessna aircraft is pressurized, which means it can fly much, much higher for much longer. And I think there's only possibly one of 6 or 7 currently on the books with the Aviation Authority registered in the UK and Ireland. So it is quite a desirable item in this particular field. And it meant that the minute we offered it for sale, we've had a lot of interest from the UK and beyond Europe. If to take a step back, it was actually registered in America. It's been in Europe. It's now been registered and been in use in the UK. And like I say, hopefully it'll get put back into good use. But certainly that's the rewarding part from myself and the team's point of view, is that there's all the fun of the fair and all the razzmatazz that comes with an auction, knowing that we're playing a part in a much more important process. We're taking these assets seized under proceeds of crime legislation. We're selling it, getting the most amount of money we can for it, and that money is then put back into the public purse and put to good use. It's used to fight crime. It's used to fund the building of parks. It's used for further investigation. So there's that. There is certainly a satisfying element that comes with it when you know that everything that you do and all the build up towards it, there's a good news story in the background.
And a Cessna P210 Centurion plane, what's the reserve on that?
Well, the good thing about these government auctions, Frank, is that, and I spoke to you about the gold before Christmas, is that they're all unreserved auctions. They're simply sold to the highest bidder. So we receive an instruction from the Home Office to take these assets, amongst other police forces and Porsches and Ferraris and gold bars and all of these, the trappings that come, quite almost the cliched items that you find in these criminal seizures. And they're offered to the highest bidder with no reserve. So it doesn't matter if it's worth £100,000 or it's worth £10,000. Whoever puts their hand up or bids online, the highest bidder will take it away with them. If
you go to Wilson's auctions, do you see these items or just a picture of them?
No, very much so, and it's turned into a bit of a family day out, particularly over Easter. I know certainly my young sons are on their way up here today just to sit in the airplane and have a look at it. There's Ferraris and Lamborghinis and aircrafts and £30,000 watches and designer handbags. They're all on display for people just to come up and have a look. This week in particular, we've noticed a lot of families coming through with looking to do something with the kids over Easter, and we've 7 auctions in 4 days, selling everything from catering equipment to office furniture to cars, and I say right up to the gold bars and number plates worth £50,000 each.
So people have a day out at Mollusk, is that what you're saying?
Very, very much so. You do get, and in there you're trying to weed out the prospective buyers as well. They're a shrewd bunch, the guys that are interested in these items, and they like to keep their cards very close to their chest. So you're trying to separate who are the people that are just up with the kids to have a look and who are the people that are probably going to bid on the night. And
how much interest is there online?
Very much so, I would say. I mean, our website gets about 200,000 visitors a month coming through. And again, this goes back to the apps that are available on the online platforms. People anywhere in the world can bid on any item, and it's amazing when you look at how cheap it is to ship these items worldwide. So all of a sudden, it just shrinks right down. You might have a handful of people in the hall, but you could have anything from 10, 20, 30 people on the aircrafts. Things like the Rolexes, for example, you'll see hundreds of people bidding across the world, because ultimately it doesn't matter whether you're sitting in America or you're sitting in Japan. If it's a £30,000 Rolex Daytona, they're very desirable. So ultimately they'll bid and pay a couple of £100 in shipping and have it shipped to their door.
So Aidan, to get back to my ambition that if they ever pull the shutters down on phone-in radio, I want to be an auctioneer. How do I know who's bidding, because I've been at auctions and I've stood up near enough where the auctioneer would be sort of watching the crowd, and I've unbridled admiration for the guy or girl who's on the gavel, because some people don't make much of a gesture. Some, of course, lift the paddle, others just sort of nod. How do you, it's particularly difficult at a sale ring where there's cattle, but that's maybe another issue. How do you, are you watching for paddles all the time, or for winks of an eye?
Yeah, if only it were that easy. I have to be very honest. I'm very new to the auctioneering side of it. I was always in the background, and usually sort of in a courtroom somewhere, or dealing with the assets. And now I have the pleasure of getting involved. But certainly with some of my colleagues, some of the more experienced auctioneers, if only it were as easy as paddles. Literally, some people will blink, they will slightly nod their head, and all of a sudden that is their bid. And then likewise you'll have other people who'll be a lot more sort of pronounced in their bidding. But it certainly is it's a skill. It's very, very humbling when you get up there and find how difficult it is under pressure just to count and make your way through the increments.
And do you know some of the faces? There are certain people who would come in and bid with a wink. Surely you know who those guys are. You could be forgiven for missing. Somebody could have a squint. You could end up buying.
Well,
a car.
I've seen that before, where people have sneezed at an auction and almost ended up with a £50,000 gold bar. But ultimately, that comes down to the experience of the auctioneer. The buyers and the bidders that we deal with are very shrewd, and they will make eye contact. And like you say, to the untrained eye, there's a flurry of activity on the floor, and it's 9 times out of 10 it's virtually impossible to keep up with a particularly fast auctioneer. And I suppose that's one of the skills of the trade. It makes it, certainly from my point of view, learning the trade, it makes it a bit easier now with the sort of prevalence now of online bidding. Everyone in the hall can see the screens light up, massive PowerPoint projectors where they see online bids coming in. So it means everyone in the hall. It creates a nice bit of drama and a bit of tension, and ultimately a bit of fun. And again, I can't stress enough, the auctions are open to the public, even if you're not bidding. You can come along and actually watch the auction on Thursday night at 7 o'clock and see the plane being sold and see these items going under hammer for these sort of massive amounts of money.
I think that's what I need to do. I need to watch more of them. If I could, I have the talent. I know I can do this.
You are more than well. We'll run a mini YTP scheme, Frank, and you can come up and do a bit of a placement if you want, just to keep your options open. Obviously, with the radio industry, you never know.
Aidan, no truer words ever been spoken. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks very much.
So get yourself up to Wilson's Auctions for a day out, a night out. It might cost you a small fortune if you sneeze.